How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I've been working all day. A little tired. I've been doing basketball drills with my stepson, and he's getting to that age where he can beat me, so it's a little rough. I wanted to talk to you about just talk about your walk with God, and the polyamorous thing, and just kind of share your story if you don't mind. Kind of shed some light on that type of lifestyle and how that works with God and how that works with you and how it works, how it works in your life. So tell your story. Tell when did you start and when did your walk with God start and how did it start and how did you move it to this point?
Okay, for sure. And I greatly appreciate you, Kareem, for having me, here doing this particular interview. And so, honestly, I grew up in church, very religious sort of background. However, while my mom was, primarily Christian, deep in church and everything, my dad was more of the Muslim practice. So even though he didn't communicate with me and my siblings about certain things, I did my own research. So
Yeah.
just because, I grew up in church, but my dad had this other practice, so I was curious about certain things. And so he also had a lot of things like different astrology books or different, whether it's business strategy or spirituality books. I just picked up those particular books he had around the house and I would educate myself along with reading the Bible for myself. And so traditionally in most Christian households, it's like people just talk about the typical stuff like Jesus walked on water, he turned water into wine, he had the disciples, he died on the cross, and then Adam and Eve were the first people, that sort of stuff. So
Mhm.
when I would read the Bible for myself, I would just get a deeper comprehension of what a lot of that stuff actually meant. And so um I looked into the beforehand because a lot of people just like to talk about the New Testament. And so I will go into the Old Testament other than just Genesis. And that was when I learned about the 12 tribes. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so this is like, of course, they're not the first people. However, this was I'll just, for simple terms like hierarchy that God really has set in place. Is
Yes.
Abraham, Isaac, Jacob turned Israel later, and a lot of people don't even talk about the fact that he had a daughter named Dina. And so as the
Mhm.
12 tribes,
Definitely.
yeah, you got the 12 brothers and then the 13th sister. And so that's just one of those things where, even in the Hebrew faith, a lot of people don't even talk about that. It's like that's why it's important to read your Bible for yourself. It's important to not be in that religious construct and everything like that. So you had
Yes.
mentioned polyamory. So that was like my first introduction into the poly lifestyle. I
Mhm.
don't for myself, I don't intend to practice polyamory, and that's the difference between like having a solidified marriage and relationship versus like people being casually with each other. I don't desire to just like have a boyfriend and a potentially a girlfriend. My desire is to have a husband and sister wife, and that was my intention with my previous marriage. However, things didn't work out. The vision just wasn't shared with all parties, and so with me wanting things to be in a more righteous, straightforward, solidified, stable relationship, other people just wanted to have fun. And I'm like, oh, nah,
They
nah.
just want the fun parts. They didn't want the spiritual side. They just I got you. Well,
Yeah.
that sounds like my first three marriages. They just want to have fun with me. They didn't want to go to God with me.
And
That's
that it's just weird. It's weird because people will know everything about you or, know a good amount. And it's like, oh, well, I do this, whether it's, having certain comprehensions of like whether it's different crystals or using sage or reading the Bible, knowing certain scriptures. And it's like they'll still have that childish mindset and be like, we're here for play. And it's like, nah, like according to the 12 tribes, this dude had four females that he had children with and they built an empire. That's what I'm on. Like, that's
yeah.
that's what makes
Okay.
sense to me.
Wow. That's man. I like your take on that. I like I said, when you said that, I really wanted to hear that. Is an awesome take on it. But for you to attack it from the spiritual side, and then to have the real life experience of trying to make it work. And I tell people all the time, it's easy to read this Bible and memorize these verses and memorize what happened. But when you try to walk it and actually put it in practice, therein lies the hard part. And you've actually experienced that in a relationship, which is awesome that you've had that experience, but also being able to share it with others is even more awesome. So how long were you married? And I assume you were married and tried to get the husband into line, and husband just wasn't understanding, I guess.
It pretty much it was I we got married very, very early. And so it was like one of those things where we didn't believe in, polyamory at the time. That was how I first like got introduced to the poly lifestyle. So we didn't know anything about polyamory or polygyny or polygamy or anything. We just got married thinking that that was the right thing to do in monogamy. I was pregnant, so it was like one of the things I told him. I was straight up. I was like, "Hey, we grown. If you don't want to marry me, you don't have to." And he felt like, as a man, he felt like he loved me enough to marry me. We were already got a child on the way, so he thought he was doing the right thing, and I didn't
Yeah.
disagree. So everything made sense logically. As time went on, I'm just too real to like sugarcoat too many things. He was exhibiting a lot of male nature. It just is what it is, guys, like multiple
Yeah.
females. And however, he didn't get why I was okay with it. Because it's like he expected me to be like, "Oh, he cheated on me. I'm gonna go cry and cry." My only issue was, why weren't you honest with me?
Yes, yes. A lot of times people miss that point. I always say the cheating is not in the act; it's in the your partner not knowing.
Mm-hmm.
There's the cheat, and I call anything that your partner doesn't know a cheat. It could be, oh, I snuck off and went to lunch with a coworker that's of the opposite sex, and I don't want to tell you about it. It doesn't matter what y'all did while y'all were eating lunch. You cheated.
That's an
And
interesting take as well.
and mine is if it's a lie, or to me, if you have a secret with another person, there's a cheat right there, because we're supposed to be the team and we're supposed to be sharing everything we do. And if you have a share with somebody else and I don't know about it, now you're cheating to me.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's interesting that most people don't, they're hung up on the physicality of it. Like you say, the physicality of the polyamorous lifestyle appealed to him, but the spiritual side didn't. Most people just don't get the spiritual side of sex and the physical thing that you do. That most people are just at the carnal state of it. They can't get past the absolute carnal state of it. They're stuck right there. And how old are you? How old are you?
I'm 24. I'll be 25 next month.
Wow, that's amazing that you have this take. That is a very, very, very mature take on life. I mean, I just turned 46, so and it took me about 30 some years before I got to where I realized that me as a man was probably 50% of the problems I was having, and where most guys just want to blame it on, oh, my baby mamas or my ex is this, my ex. We don't realize that, oh, we have some growing and some growing up to do. Like my mom always says, most guys shouldn't get married till they're about 50 because they're just not ready.
As I know some 50-year-old guys, I'm like, yo, what's going on here?
Yeah, my dad was one. He was about 78, still trying to play the game. And I'm like, dude, you barely out here functioning. How are you trying to play women? But people do that. They do that. But yes, I mean, 24 is awesome. I mean, that is, I mean, I have a daughter. My oldest daughter is 24. So my oldest daughter is 24, and she's not in a relationship right now. She's gay, or at least I think she may be bi. But she doesn't have a relationship, but she does not have that understanding. But knowing somebody that age have that understanding gives me hope for the new generation. Because
Oh, yeah,
yes,
like that's one of the things. So it's like I do talk about this type of stuff on my YouTube channel, and I know a lot of younger people who follow me on YouTube and on Instagram, and we don't talk about this in detail because I'm like, look, you're younger than me. I'm already young. We're not going to talk about this too much, but they get the concept. And my son, he is, well, at the time he was, a little bit younger, but he's 5 now.
Mhm,
When I introduced him to a new family setting with
mhm,
that particular mindset, him and his step siblings got it, or at least his perceived step siblings at the time, they got it.
yeah.
Their mindset was like, okay, so kids are already used to having step parents, or like, oh, this is my parents' boyfriend or girlfriend. They already got that. You just add in another person. It's like, oh, this is my dad, and this is my mom and my other mom.
Wow. And I think kids are we really don't give them enough credit. They adapt much faster than adults. Adults are set in their ways or have their mind made up. They want to go a certain way. With these kids, if you say it, you lay it out for them, explain it to them on a kid level, I think they can grasp a lot more things than adults can these days, especially these days.
I'm straight up. That's exactly how it is. And it was just really unfortunate because it's like, we grow up, we hear about stupid things like sibling rivalry. Is like, oh, that's the stepchild, and this one is the favorite child. And it was like, in my experience, the issue wasn't even with the children, it was with the grown people. It was the hierarchy of, oh, who's the better girlfriend or who's the better wife. And it was like, it's
Wow.
not even I like my mentality, like we're talking about spirituality here. My mentality is we're building an empire. It's like, okay, I know I'm not perfect. I know I can't do everything, which is why, I was even okay with my failed relationship. It was just like, before everything went all the way down, I was like, I know I need help. I don't mind inviting another lady into our home. I don't mind it because it's like, I'm tired. I just had a child. We're supposed to be running a business together. I want to homeschool. I want a garden, like a big one, not just like a few flowers in the front of the house. Like, I want to do a lot of stuff, and I know I can't do it all by myself. So learning about polygyny specifically, I was like, this answers a lot of the problems that not just I had as a concern for myself as an individual. This answers a lot of issues in society,
Yes. Yes, it
honestly.
does. A lot of people don't have that mature take on it. I was in a relationship, my previous marriage, and it was, I wouldn't say polyamorous, but she was okay with another female being there. But it wasn't for anything spiritual, or it was literally, like you say, it was just for the fun of it. And any of the spirituality of it or the actual responsibility or anything like that, no, they didn't want that. It was just for the fun of it. And it's, like I say again, it's refreshing to see somebody that young with a take, as young as you are, with that take on it. And I want to make sure you give me your YouTube page. You can put that in send it over on Facebook later on. And while we're putting that, I'll put that down now so that people can follow you, because I think you have an interesting take. I was like, wow, you definitely gonna be my first interview, because I was like, man, I've got to talk to her and hear her side of this, because I didn't want to even try to present it without you saying it in your own words, because I think it's a interesting and a new look on it, but I also think it's a fresh and just a wide open minded view on life. And I, like I say, being 24, I really, from your text, I really thought you were older. From talking to you on Facebook, I really thought you were older. I was like, wow. So I'm just like, wow, she's only 20. And that's amazing to me. So, man, God bless you and kudos to you for that one. I mean, now, we mentioned the planting in the gardening, and we talked about that briefly. Go into the type of gardening you're talking about and the reason why self sustainability is important.
And so first, a much gratitude and appreciation for your acknowledgement of like my age and maturity level. It's a thing. It is like people say like the whole you have an old soul thing. I'm from Memphis, so it's just it's just old
Okay,
here.
okay, okay, then country people rule.
Yeah, and that again that ties into the question you just asked me. So I come from like my mother let me know that on her side, they were sharecroppers back in the day. And so that's like, it's literally in my bloodline to desire to have that, farmer sort of country lifestyle. However, everybody knows everything got super crazy in 2020.
Yes.
And so, what we gonna do? Everybody's locked in the house, can't nobody go anywhere. So we gotta grow our own food, something. And with I'm not gonna say too much, but with certain foods and stuff not being on the shelves, I still want to be able to have my favorite food. And we had the gas situation happen earlier this year, and now foods aren't getting shipped the same way anymore. It's
Yeah.
something that, it was already important. It's just now we have more of a reason to pay attention to these types of things. So it's like, even if things go back to normal how they were, what's wrong with being self-sustaining?
Yes, I tell people all the time, and I ask people, if you had to just eat what was in your yard right now, would you be eating grass? Would you be eating roses and grass? And most people be eating roses and grass. If they got some roses, they may not even have roses. They may just be eating grass.
Right.
Uh, until this summer, I had collard greens, I had tomatoes, I had I try to keep something going. And my garden is above ground garden, but I try to keep something growing. And it was passed down, like you say, it was passed down from my dad. My dad, after he retired from roofing, he was 70 something with a whole acre, and he would be out there working like it was his 9 to 5 every day. And he would grow, and everything he couldn't eat, he gave away. And that's what he did. And man, it's one of those things that it really is passed down through generations, and a lot of people are just not aware of that. And a lot of people just they don't they don't appreciate it. They're old, or they're old farmers, and we got the internet now. Who wants to farm? Everybody wants to be an Instagram model or a star or something. Nobody wants to be out there farming collard greens, but it is a more better lifestyle. And like I say, when I would cook things, I've got a cousin of mine that he was shot and he was paralyzed, and he only eats vegan, but for a reason, because everything comes out in a bag. So he's vegan eating, and he doesn't like anything out of the grocery store. He will eat my greens though. My greens, he about to tear them up. He about to tear them greens up. When I send them to him, and sometime I'll cook them for us, or I'll cut them up for my cousin, tell him, look, you season them and give them to him, but he'll eat those greens like you're not talking about. But he won't eat greens out of Kroger's. He won't eat the greens out of HEB, because they've got these pesticides and they've got all this other stuff. So it's interesting to like I said again, to find somebody young, and it's not that life puts you in a situation where you're doing these things. Like you said, as a kid, you picked up these books and this knowledge, self-taught, not a situation. And so much of I think our changing comes from situations. Like, I had to change because of this situation. I changed after this situation, which myself included. That's how most of my changing came. It was, I always say, God had to put me in the headlock and say, hey, boy, you need to do this. And then I say, okay, God. But I feel like at your age, the way you're doing it is awesome, man. I just wanted to give you your roses for it, because it is awesome. Like I say, to have that fresh, and then still be smiley face. You just show up all smiley face and happy about it. So many people talk about their past relationships, and it's like, well, he did this and she did this, and you don't have that take on it. It's like I say, it's a fresh and optimistic view on it. And it was just something I wanted to bring the light to. And I thought it would be the best thing doing one of these interviews for my show like this, to have something like this to show people that your walk with God does not have to look like anybody else's. And it probably shouldn't, because they did not go through the things you went through. They wasn't raised by the parents you had, and they didn't grow up where you grew up. And I thought yours was just really unique and awesome. And I really wanted to bring that to the light. And I'm so glad you did this. I appreciate you doing it with me. And I, like I say, make sure you send me your YouTube link. I don't want to hold you up too long, and I don't want to make this too long, but I may want to do another one of these because I think this is maybe just a little tip we got to there. And I think you've got some awesome stuff to share, man. And I'm going to be sending this link to my daughters, like, hey, look at this. She is 24. and because, I mean, I've got daughters that are school teachers, but I got some on the other end of the spectrum that just hadn't found their mode in life yet. And so seeing somebody so young that just has, I mean, you talk about running your businesses, you're raising your kids, but you're still looking for that spiritual side of life. And I think a lot of young people have just not gotten there yet. And I wasn't there at 24 either. I had 3 kids at 24. I was struggling trying to figure out how to feed them and diaper them. I wasn't. I knew I had a walk with God, but it wasn't on the forefront of what I was doing. And until I put God on the forefront, then my life started to go the way I wanted to. And I feel like you have that. You have God on the forefront of everything you're doing. And that's why it comes across as a smile, as optimistic, and it comes across as positive as it does. So I really want to give you your roses and your hand claps on that one, man. It's awesome to meet somebody like yourself. And I appreciate you just taking the time out with me to talk to me, man.
For sure, and I greatly appreciate that as well. And there's a couple of points I wanted to make. I know you say you wanted to wrap it up a little bit, and it's crazy because I was like, I'm low key tired, but it's like I love conversations like these, so we're definitely gonna have to have another one. But
Yes, yes, yes.
it's I get the concept of me being kind of young and having the understanding about a lot of this stuff that most people simply don't have. Um, and it's not even that they can't have it. It's just it hasn't kicked in quite yet. Because like you said, I'm just an intellect. I like to study things, and it's just because it piques my interest. So
Yeah.
me being kind of nosy with knowledge, I was like, oh, hold on a second. I'm in Sunday school, just, chilling. And I'm like, wait a minute. We do this in church, but the Bible said, and that was how it was stuff like that. I just happened to be nosy reading the Bible, and I started low key checking people in the church, and it just kind of messed stuff up, and it bumped me out of religion. And it wasn't too much circumstantial. It was just because I naturally am intuitive, not just intuitive, intellectual, and my intuition started to grow after that point even more. And so, oh, you had mentioned your cousin is vegan, and that was something that I was thinking about when we were speaking on the gardening aspect of things. I do vegan fasting, and
Mm-hmm.
so I think the longest that I went was probably like 3 months straight, so about 90 days. And
Wow.
then I was with some friends in Atlanta earlier this year, and so we were primarily vegetarian. It wasn't completely vegan for several months. And so it's like I don't like going to the grocery store either. If I could, I'd grow every single thing in my backyard, and that's still my mission. It's like acquiring certain amounts of property, growing my own food, having whatever animals I'd like to have, and live that way. It sounds country, it sounds lame, but it's like, bro, I get to. Most people just like to be at home all day anyway, so might as well.
I saw, I think it was Waka Flocka, where he stepped away from rap and he was farming. He's got a full on farm somewhere. I think people, yeah, like you say, some people would call it lame. I think it's the opposite. It is actually intellectual, it's smart, it's spiritual, it puts you in touch with the land, with God, and everything that God wants us to be. Most of human beings until 300 400 years ago were farmers. I mean, if you wasn't a farmer, you were a hunter. And 70% of them could not hunt, so they farmed. And so it only makes sense. But if you think about it, does it make sense for us to rely on somebody across the world, across the land to feed us? It just doesn't make sense. But you have the awesome take on it. That is, and like I say again, and see, like you say, you fast vegan. I often fast. I fast on Sundays now, but around Ramadan, because I used to be Muslim in high school, and so I still fast 30 days in Ramadan. I also preach for 30 straight days now, as I did this past year, which was another revelation that came to me. Is like, why not, while I'm doing this for God, go ahead and dig into the word and go deeper while I'm fasting, so that it's not just a spiritual fast, but it's also putting something back into me. Because as the Bible says, man can't live on bread alone. So go ahead and get this word while I'm fasting and make it a more spiritual fast. And that really got interesting because I broke my elbow right in the middle of it. And God was like, well, let's see if you're really going to you gonna keep it going. I just broke your elbow. And I literally came out of the hospital at about 2, 3 in the morning and went straight to YouTube preaching and was like, nah, you're not stopping me. So it showed me that the power of when you're in that mode, what you are capable of, when you're fasting, when you're eating right, you are capable of a lot more than you actually think you are in your everyday life. And so that's interesting that you say you go on vegan fast, because some people, they try to just cold turkey, and I think maybe doing it that way is a actual better way.
For sure. That's like that people try to put it into a diet category. It's like, oh well, I'm gonna go vegan. Okay, so my sister and I, we are like the exact same, just in a different way. So me, I'm holistic. I believe in, natural healing herbs and stuff like that. She has a bachelor's degree in biology, and she studies nutrition in a professional way. And
Wow.
she's keto. And so
Mm.
she was able to start her keto diet and lose 60 pounds in a year. And so that's exactly, it's like, okay, so I'm not one of them vegan people who's like, oh, if you're not vegan, you're blah blah. It's like, okay, this is how I do things, and I can see the perspective of other people because it works for them. And so with me being able to have an open mind in that way, it just opens the, I mean, it's just having an open mind and just understanding people in general. It just makes a lot of these things easier because I definitely get vegans who dislike people who harm animals. However, I don't think anybody going to the grocery store buying a bag of chicken is trying to harm chickens. They just want to eat.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, and that's why I say well, your take on it is as a refreshing one, because I've never seen anyone with the lifestyles that you have that didn't look at other people's lifestyle and kind of point the finger like you the problem, or and you don't have that. Again, like I say, you got this optimistic smiley face. And I hate to call it smiley face, I don't know, but
You're
you're doing
good.
it with a smile, where most of them kind of do it with a and you're doing it with a smile. And I just even when I was talking to you, I could tell you were this happy spirit, that your spirit didn't come across as blameful, as as or as I'm better than thou, which is probably the greatest part of religion that's wrong, is that I'm better than you, or I know better than you. Where again, your walk is unique, so your walk is your walk, and everybody's is different. And you just like I thought you was, you have this accepting appeal that my walk is my walk, but that doesn't make your walk any less, and that's
Mhm.
awesome.
You said when you were in high school, you were a Muslim. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the righteous teachings that I learned about polygamy comes from Muslim people because I never heard of it really, but I started doing some digging and it's like, oh, well, Muslim people already know about this sort of stuff. So let me
Yes.
learn from them. And it's like, oh, well, religion, this, religion, that. Well, like they have structure, like they know what they're doing.
Yes, yes. I tell people that uh, people talk about Islam from a standpoint, but the structure of the 5 prayers a day and the washing of the hands before you pray and all this stuff, that structure kept me, when I was kind of standing out there in the streets, it kept me from falling completely off and not having any God in my life. And because it had a structure, it allowed me to have some type of structure at a time where I really didn't have much structure. And that was the awesome part about Islam. And like I say, besides a incident which we'll probably dive into on another one, of God actually calling me and saying, "Hey, you are mine, and this is the way I need you to go." It was one of those things where I couldn't see myself. Uh, like you say, you growing up in the church, just doing the regular religion that we saw growing up. I always tell people, I am not the pastor that your mom and your grandmama took you to see, because that guy didn't. So I am not that guy. Don't get it twisted. That I'm going to be that guy. No, I'm not. I am. What would they call it? Maybe a liberal type of preacher where I I don't do gay weddings because I hadn't been able to find a Bible verse to back it up, but I have nothing against them. I will go to one, I participate, I will celebrate your love. I think you should have it, but I don't do it because I hadn't been able to find a Bible principle to back it up to where I can actually do it. But I I think that a lot of people in religion they do the finger pointing thing and the I'm here and you're here thing, and that's the biggest problem with religion is the I'm better than you or my way is better than you. And like again, you don't have that. And to have so many different, I mean, you have a plethora of lifestyles that are just from the holistic to the everything is just a plethora of different lifestyles, but all blended together nicely in you, and it doesn't come across as blame for a finger point. It comes across as beautiful and spiritual, and that's awesome. So that's an awesome thing, man. That is really awesome. I am so glad I got a chance to meet you because this is again, this is not a conversation I would call it one and out. This is I want to have it again. And I know you say you were a little tired, so I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. But man, if you want to finish up on a note or anything else you want to go, I got about 7 minutes that we can go over here. If you want to give your YouTube page or your Twitter, your Instagram or anything, and you send all that information to me, and I will have it at the bottom of the screen as you said.
Okay, for sure. I did want to make another point because you had mentioned that your daughter is gay or bisexual and you are not against LGBTQ plus people and their particular lifestyle. You just don't, support it in your own particular relationship and you don't ordain those types of marriages. However, you're not, like mean to those people. The other day there was a shooting and I think they said it was in Colorado. I'm like,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
bro, just because you don't like them doesn't mean they deserve to die. Like I'll stand up for them in their lives. Is that sort of thing. Do I support that particular lifestyle? Not necessarily. At the same time, I'm not just gonna, talk bad about them. Like, look, you're not going to be able to reproduce children that way. And that's not family building. So that's why I disagree. However, if that's what you are doing in your particular life right now, it is what it is. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But this one just
that's awesome.
The judgmental aspect of it, just removing that from. But
yeah, the judgmental part. That's the perfect word, the judgmental part. I mean, I always tell people, my wife I'm in the first interracial relationship I've ever been in my life, and it's probably the best relationship I've ever been in. She's white and Mexican, where before I was devoutly against marrying anything but a black woman. Like, oh, absolutely not. I would not even date anybody outside of my race. And I had horrible relationships. I was abused. It was just bad relations. I would say 4 marriages. One was common law, but it was 3 to 4 marriages, and it was just horrible. It just they beat me down, and because I opened myself up and said, "Hey, let's just find love. Let's not put love in a box." Instead, love can only come one way, and that's what. If I could do that in color, then maybe you could do that in gender. And so I can't judge you because I found love in a spot that I would not found. And I met her on Facebook, for believe that or not. So as much as can be said for Facebook and anything else, I found true love on Facebook outside of my race. So I could not judge anybody for where they find love. And so like I say, if I could do it in race, it could be in sex, it could be in many people, it could be in any lifestyle. So I don't judge anybody. So I try to keep it on that level that God gave me the grace, give another person that grace.
For sure. The YouTube channel that I do have where I talk about topics like these, because I have multiple channels, but for this specific topic, my YouTube channel is called Sovereign Empress. And my Instagram page is Real Talk with Ellie. That's talk with 2 Ks, and Ellie is spelled Eli. So it's Real Talk with 2 Ks with Eli.
And your name is Ellie Empress Tiara?
That's what it is on Facebook. People just call me Ellie.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah, me and my wife went back and forth whether it was Ellie or Eli. And I was like, no, I think it's Ellie. She's, but okay, man. I'm text me all that in the chat right there so I can put all that at the bottom so they can follow you, man. And wonderful meeting you. Thank you for sharing your story, and we will be doing this again.
All right, for sure. Greatly appreciate you having me on here, and I definitely look forward to another one.
Oh man, definitely. We're gonna have to do another one because the topics we can go for days on some of these topics. So we're definitely gonna be doing another one. And like again, I appreciate you. Thanks for bringing your spirit and sharing with us, man. I appreciate you sharing everything. And I will be tagging you in the link once I put it up. So it'll be up tomorrow.
All right, awesome.
All right. Make sure you send me everything. Hey, you have a wonderful night. Get you some rest and be blessed. And have a happy Thanksgiving if I don't talk to you till then.
All right, thank you as well, and happy solar return, be Earth Day for last week.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And happy born day coming to you. You say what? When was it? Next week? You say?
Now, next month,
Next month.
December 22nd. That's actually an angel number. It's going to be 12, 22, 22.
Wow. Okay, man. And Sagittarius. Is that Sagittarius still?
Sagittarius, Capricorn, cusp.
Cusp. Okay. I got daughters that are Capricorn, wife and mom Sagittarius. So all
Oh,
my birthdays are right up in there. All the birthdays right up in there. So good people, good people. Hey, great talking to you, and we'll be talking again, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you for your presence, and we'll be talking again. Thank you again.
gratitude. Talk to you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye bye.